Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander Clash podcast, where the Commander Clash crew talks all things Commander. And this week, we are talking about the top cards from Spider-Man. We have the full set. It's going to be dropping in like a week, probably, when this episode goes up. So we're going to be talking about the cards from the set that we think are best and we're most hyped about. And we got the small crew this week. Tomer couldn't be here. He's on the road this week. But we're joined by Krim, our resident Spider-Man expert. How's it going today, Krim?
Again, I only like Spider-Man for his characters around him. So, yes,
Hey,
I guess.
you know way more about it than I do. I know that at least. And we also have Phil. Phil, what's your level of Spider-Man knowledge? Are you a Spider-Man guy? I don't know if I've ever asked you that.
I mean, as an animator, I really like the animated movies. I'm not a superhero guy in general, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
That doesn't matter because we're talking about magic cards, and there are some very interesting ones in the set. So that's what we're going over today. But before we get into that, we got a couple of sponsors. Our show is brought to you by Foil Armor. Do you have problems with your foils curling? Well, Foil Armor is the ultimate solution for flattening your foils. It's a two-way humidity pack that you simply put inside an airtight container with your cards, and Foil Armor will absorb and release moisture, making your cards completely flat. Put a pack in your storage box to keep your cards flat forever, and you can head over to foilarmor.com and use the code MTGGoldfish to get 15% off. Our show is also brought to you by Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. If you ever get tired of the hassles of buy listing, you can skip them with Card Conduit. You can use their curated service where you send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a bit of work, you can use the sorted service where you list and sort your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. Either way, you're going to get a detailed report with the results and a fast payment once your order is processed. And you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. Card Conduit, it's the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thank you to our sponsors for supporting the show. And now it's time for the comment of the week. So last week, we talked about cards that were super overestimated during spoiler season, to the point that people even wanted these cards banned. And our top comment comes from @CRSS29, says, how Krim wins games in 3 steps. Step 1, everyone else, I won't want to run removal. If anything needs removing, Krim will take care of it. Step 2, Krim, I'm the only one that runs removal. If I'm the problem, no one can stop me. Step 3, Krim victory. And I actually think that is how the season of Commander Clash has played out a lot of weeks.
I don't think I've ever felt the lack of swords to plowshares as hard as I have until
every
Phil,
white deck.
Phil has it. Phil,
Yeah,
I
Phil.
see you out there. But one swords between 4 players. It's kind of interesting.
Anyway, let's talk some Spider-Man, and we're going to talk about the top cards from this set, our favorite cards from the set, and let's kick things off today with Krim. Krim, we got to start with you. What do you got for us from Spider-Man?
I think I'm going to lead off with probably one of the more iconic Spider-Man villains, which would be Norman Osborn, who's gone through some wild development arcs. And yeah, he turns into the Green Goblin, but Norman Osborn is 1 in a blue, can't be blocked, and when it deals combat damage to a player, it connives. And then you could pay 1 in Grixis to transform it into the Green Goblin. Flying Menace, spells you control from your graveyard cost 2 less to cast. And then, of course, the Goblin formula. Each non-land card in your graveyard has Mayhem. The Mayhem cost is equal to its mana cost. So being able to connive and loot your board like as much as you need, I think this is a very good one because connive specifically puts the 1/1 counter on it. And since the Green Goblin side is transform and not like, the flip planeswalkers, which exiles it, brings it back, you still keep the counters. And then on top of that, you just fill up your yard and then eventually you get to the backside. That's giving all your cards Mayhem is always going to be a good time, right? And so I feel like giving anything in my hand Mayhem now is just gonna spiral out of the gate, spiral out pretty quick. And there's like water cooler talk about apparently Norman Osborn being a CDH viable commander, but I don't know much about that. So
Wait, Mayhem also works with spells, and they don't exile, so you can just
yeah. That's the biggest thing here.
Wow,
so the spells don't
yeesh.
exile, and you just get to put it back into the graveyard.
So let me actually ask you a rules question because I'm not sure about this myself. So let's say you discard a card. You mayhem it from your graveyard with the Green Goblin. It goes back in your graveyard. Does that still count as a card you discarded this turn because you discarded it earlier? Or is it a new version of that card? Because, like, if you blink something, how it is a new version of that effect. Do either of you know? Because I'm actually not sure how that works.
Oh,
Wait.
each
Okay,
non-land
hold on.
card.
I think I see what you're asking here. So if you have Green Goblin out, you discard a card, you cast the card.
With
right?
the
Is that
mayhem.
what
You mayhem
with the
it
mayhem.
and it goes back in your graveyard. Can you just mayhem it again and again and again?
Wait, yeah.
No, because
can't.
you're not.
Okay.
You can't because that is not another another instance of you discarding it. You're just using it.
No, but
okay.
wait. So you may cast this card from your graveyard for its mayhem cost if you discarded it this turn.
This turn.
So once you
okay,
play it and it goes back in the graveyard, it won't technically be discarded anymore, right? Because you didn't discard. Okay. So it's not
an
quite
infinite
as
loop.
crazy as, I was thinking, wow, it's like Underworld Breach. This card is so ridiculous if it works that way. I mean,
but the cost reduction, that's pretty sweet. And with all the random self-discard, you can definitely get some, at least a cheap Breach the Multiverse or something like that.
Oh, yeah, for
Is
sure. It definitely seems like a fun build around. What were you going to say, Phil?
Is a 2-mana, 3-color commander that can't be blocked just interesting by itself? Also, the Connive also pumps it or something like Voltron, unblockable with 3 colors for 2 mana. That seems kind of interesting.
Some people have argued, depending on the format, like if casual, that maybe the front side is just actually better.
If you get away with it and slap a sword on it or something, then maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the front side being pretty good as well. The front side just is not as build-aroundy to me. I guess you can play it as like a reanimator or commander, and it is interesting that it adds a new color, 2 new colors to it, because normally we see that looting unblockable effect on mono blue cards. So it's cool to see Grixis, and I think that powers it up a ton in CDH. That's probably why people are talking about it, because since you're in Grixis, you get Thoracle combos and stuff that it just is a powerful color combination. I think though this is just a pretty fun casual build around. I think the self-discard mayhem theme is really interesting. Plus it works with flashback, it works with escape. There's a whole bunch of different mechanics, you cast spells from your graveyard. So I think this will be a really interesting and fun commander to build around. Plus, I don't know if you all saw the Omen Pass version. Who doesn't love Fleam? That is I don't know if you've seen the Magic Internet, but everyone loves Fleam.
I have no idea what Fleam is.
Okay.
So I assume that's the Omen Pass.
It's the Omen Pass
right?
backside of the card.
Okay.
It's just a super cute, goofy looking dragon thing, but yeah.
I wish this was real.
What? I mean,
and it's a goblin cube. Okay.
I think that I'm curious, would you put Flash into this deck? Because that gets around the Mayhem thing, right? Because Mayhem still has timing restrictions applied to it.
Right. Interesting.
So once you give everything Flash, you can now just do the madness thing, but instead it's actually going to go back to your graveyard instead of into the ether.
Yeah, that is actually a neat idea. I probably would, I think. My first impulse was to build it as just a self-discard deck with Monument to Endurance and Bone Misers and so forth. But I think the Flash synergies on top of that would make it even stronger. Plus, I found anytime I just have a Leyline of Anticipation in a commander game, it always overperforms. Just people, it's almost like a ghostly prison to some extent. If you can just pass with all your mana up, people think twice before coming at you just out of the fear of the unknown. So I have found those flash effects to actually punch up a little bit and be better than I would think in commander. So yeah, I think the flash idea is super cool. Let's keep moving on to the next card. Phil, what do you got for us that you like from the Spider-Man set?
I mean, this is not a surprise to anyone, I think. And also, the name is pretty cool, and it's also the name on the Omen Pass version. So let's just say I choose the Omen Pass version here.
Pointing
it's
at each
Imposter Syndrome. It's 6 mana enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create a token of that, copy token of that creature. Except it isn't legendary. That is almost a little too much, but I guess I take it. So whenever you hit an opponent, you create a token copy. It triggers the talent. It's also crazy, out of control. If you get an Alpha Strike with this, the next opponent's gonna feel it double as hard. So maybe a little win more, but I already like what's the coin flip thing? Mirror March.
Yeah.
Right.
This is
This
just
kind of Blue
whew.
Mirror
But
March.
this is
I can see
guaranteed.
You gotta
Bill.
attack, but
Hold on, wait a
oh
minute.
my
This is
God.
guaranteed getting the token. Whereas the Mirror
Yeah, you gotta
March,
deal
who
combat
knows?
damage. It's
I
way
guess,
harder
yeah, that's
than
fair.
50-50.
I feel
I
like this
do-
card's like so explosive and it's gonna lead to some
Yeah.
ridiculous game states, but then it's also like post Wrath or something gonna be kind of awkward. There's gonna be
Yeah.
times when you top deck and you're like, oh, this is not a good time for Imposter Syndrome. But there's gonna be some games where this card really pops off. What were you gonna say, Grim? What do you think of Imposter Syndrome?
I mean, I think this card is just absolutely nuts, right? Like being able to, I thought it'd be like a one or more, right? Whenever one or more creatures deals, token
So you only
damage.
get one copy,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
But this is just going to give you however many copies as creatures can deal damage, right? And
Basically, yeah.
and it gets around the current 2025 dilemma with any clone effect and all these legendary creatures that exist, right? So they've already kind of built in the everything legendary by making it so it's not legendary.
Especially in the context of the Spider-Man set, or like some other recent sets we've seen with just so many legends, you almost have to do that, right? Or else like, you're just not going to be able to play it with a lot of the coolest cards from the set. What kind of decks would you guys play this in? So this question, discounting Spider-Man themed decks, because I think a lot of people play it because it has Spider-Man in the ARP. So if you're playing like Cosmic Spider-Man or something, it fits right in there. But let's say you're not playing it because of flavor reasons for Spider-Man. What kind of shell do you put this in? Just anything with value-y creatures that's going to build a board and it's going to like pop off sometimes?
Blink. As weird as it sounds, kind of Blink decks. It's like a different way of blinking. Or
Yeah, I was
ETBs.
thinking Panharmonicons. It's kind of another way to do the Blink thing in Panharmonicon style decks, like whatever, Felix or Yarok or something.
To be honest, though, it might be one of those cards that just win more. You got the hitting with value creatures is like...
It reminds me, what's the card? And I still love this card, but I very rarely play it. It's like it was like a Baldur's Gate card, I think. It's like an 8-mana white enchantment, and it gives all your stuff Myriad.
Oh, everything Myriad. Yeah,
and every time I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to make the craziest board with this. And there are some times that I do make the craziest board with it, but then a lot of times I'm like, it's 8 mana. It's actually not consistent, and I end up cutting it from the deck. So it might be one of those cards that like is super cool, but it actually maybe is a little win more.
I am very curious to see how it plays in a generic blue deck or like blue base deck, right? Obviously, there's
birds.
It's like in a birds deck. I mean, Richard won't play it because it's 6 mana, but
or like
that is.
Doesn't this go super wild with token stuff like doubling season, Adderx and
Nev?
If you can actually take advantage of the tokens. You still got to be able to get in the combat damage. That is true.
And it has to be a non-token creature that deals the damage, so the token copies won't replicate the tokens.
I think it's actually going to be in decks where you don't expect it at first. Maybe it's not Yarok decks, but like flying or... What's the thing that gives everything with toughness or power 1 or more, 1 or less? Unblockable.
That
like
blue
stuff
ninja
like
2-drop, Tetsuko or something. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was in Dominaria, but
yeah. Also, I'm glad that they acknowledged the meme. Like this is the.
I mean, they.
If
you're gonna make a Spider-Man set, you kind of gotta, right? Although I do wish that the art was a little more zoomed out. Maybe I don't know. The perspective seems like a little bit closer than the meme or something. So, but it's still
yeah.
That's why you play extended.
Yeah, you gotta get the
extended art anyway.
Get the full meme. Yeah. All right. So for my first pick, I got a card that I'm really excited about just because I think it's going to be really fun and I think it's actually kind of good. And that is Villainous Wrath. So Villainous Wrath is a 5-mana Wrath in black. And it says target opponent loses life equal to the number of creatures that they control. And then you destroy all creatures. So essentially it's 1 more mana than a damnation. It's a crux of fate. 5-mana black Wrath. But you also get this Rakdos Charm mode filled in where you can just take one person out of the game. And we were just talking about the possibility of popping off with Imposter Syndrome where someone's making all these copies and all these tokens. Villainous Wrath doesn't just deal with the board. It deals with the player who made the big board. And I love how it like kind of naturally punishes whoever's popping off the most, because you're going to be incentivized to target whoever has the most creatures. That's presumably the person that's ahead and having like the biggest game, and it punishes that person, and it doesn't punish all the other person. For them, it's just like a wrath for everyone else.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like a super fun and cool design, and I think cards like Rakdos Charm just lead to great stories and moments in Commander. Like that's one of the biggest upsides of putting those cards in their deck is like there's Rakdos Charm stories that you tell like 10 years later about that one time where I got someone. I think Villainous Wrath is going to create a lot more of those moments, but just at a better baseline, because a 5-mana Black Wrath is way more playable than I would say a Rakdos Charm in a vacuum. So, but what do you guys think of Villainous Wrath?
I like Deadly Tempest. I always just wished it were a little bit cheaper. And this is more in line with it. So now you could actually run like this and Deadly Tempest to really punish somebody who goes wide. But yeah, this is a fun one that I definitely plan on playing in Commander as well for those exact reasons, right? There's going to be so many gotcha moments where, oh, maybe if you pop up too hard, you're going to get like Villainous Wrath. So you got to like worry
Phil
about
looks so scared.
Yeah,
I see
it's
the
just
head
gonna
shake.
obliterate me regularly from now on. It's so bad.
Where do you guys
I guess
rank
play
this in?
sack outlets. You can
Oh, yeah, that
you
would
can
get
just
around
sack
it.
everything in response. Like if you have a Yawgmoth or something. I guess if you have a Yawgmoth, you still take 1 damage for each creature, but you get what I
But you draw a bunch of
mean.
cards along the way. Where would you guys rank this in the hierarchy of Black Wrath and Commander? Like, you got
So-
Toxic Deluge, Damnation, Blasphemous Edict, this
Decree
is
of Pain.
the expensive ones, Decree of Pain, Blood Money, the Treasure one. There's a couple
Yeah.
of few different, like, 7-8 mana ones that,
Meat
like, have
Hook.
upside. Meat Hook, sort of. Is this
I
like one
mean-
you're going to put in a lot of decks? Like, I guess that's the question. Like, does
Mhm.
this make the cut in a lot of your black decks, or is this going to be only for specific, like, archetypes or memes?
I mean, for me, who loves gotcha cards, I'm definitely going to put this in every black deck, right? And I think I would choose this over, well, okay. I find every year it gets a little bit harder to play a Black Wrath that is more than 5 mana, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have very much so, like, okay, Toxic Deluge is a lock. Damnation is starting to kind of, like, drift for me just because the 5 mana wraths have more value to me, or like in some way, shape, or form. And so I do like Toxic Deluge into Blasphemous Edict into like maybe now Villainous Wrath. I think this is like Wrath number 3. And then I still love Meat Hook Massacre, but I don't view Meat Hook Massacre as a full Wrath. Not usually it isn't. It's more of an enchantment piece. I care more about the life loss and gain part.
Right.
So I think this card is going to be pretty solid, though. I like it just because of the gotcha moments.
It is better than Damnation, right?
I think
Like,
so.
I don't.
mean,
Yeah, like
it's
you
one
don't
more
cast Damnation on
mana,
turn 4.
But yeah, that is also
So-
true.
Especially
I-
this one, you don't cast on turn 4.
It's better later.
Yeah.
And you're black, and black is pretty good at making a bunch of mana in the mid to late game with coffers and the mana
Mhm.
doublers and stuff. So maybe being 1 extra mana is not actually that big of a deal between this and Damnation.
Yeah, I mean, this does more. Like, do we like? I don't know. Wrath of God itself doesn't really see that much play outside of those who just love Wrath of God, right? Like the card
Yep.
and some sentimental value. But yeah, that
and
card in
but white has all the reduced wraths.
yes,
I guess that's also true that white
It's-
has better and more wrath than black does somehow.
right. I mean, white does have a lot, but now black is kind of getting there, right? Because I remember way back in Modern when I was just like, "Yo, we need more than just Damnation," because that card is like $70. And now
people-
we're kind of seeing it.
Do people play Blasphemous Edict?
I've seen Blasphemous
I
Edict.
remember putting it in some decks, but now I always forget about it. I played it in my 5-drop deck, but that's because it showed up on Scryfall.
I found it to be pretty good. I like Blasphemous Edict quite a bit. You don't get the cost reduction nearly as much as you do on Blasphemous Edict, because 13 is like a big number.
Act.
But it's 5 mana Wrath the board most of the time, which is still fine. So even if you don't get the reduction, so I think that's actually very good too. I'm probably going to play this in a lot of decks though, just because I like Crim. Enjoy the gotcha moment. I think like the 1 out of 20 games where you just kill someone with this is going to
Oh,
be
God.
make it worth paying 1 more mana than like a Damnation a lot of the time. But speaking of Crim, I think you're up. What do you got for us, Crim?
The next card I want to talk about is probably Hide on the Ceiling. This is it's an X in blue instant. Exile target artifact or X target artifacts and or creatures. Return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So I think generally all of us here are pretty high on March of Swirling Mists, right? Like so March of Swirling Mists phases things out. And that's good. Don't get me wrong. I obviously think that's great. And then the main thing is that, like, obviously you could pay for March through alternative methods. You can't with Hide on the Ceiling, but not being the best in class doesn't mean that this card can't be played. I think just like how there's a number 2 sweeper in black, there should be a number 2 copy of like a March of Swirling Mist. And I think this is solidly that, because you'll also get to blink it. It comes back, you get your ETBs, you can blink artifacts. So that means like if you've got mana rocks, you can use the mana rocks, blink the mana rocks, they come back, and then you can use them again later. Right? So like I personally like that you get the stuff back immediately, because like let's say March of Swirling Mist brings it back at your upkeep. You don't get anything, you don't get to use those things for like maybe the turn that you're trying to like save your stuff from, right? But let's say now I use Hide on the Ceiling, it comes back at the end of your turn. I can now do something and defend myself against the next player in turn order. So I really like this card just as a solid mass blink, even if it's only for like 2 or 3. Mass blink or exile, get some ETBs again, reuse some mana rocks or artifacts again. Who knows? There's a lot of application, and mostly just because I want to say thanks, Spider-Man, for saving, like, you know what I mean? For saving my stuff.
I also think this card's actually really good, but it's kind of funny. The part that I'm most hyped about actually isn't the saving your team part. I think that's like the baseline mode, and I think it is like the not as good, but the second place to March of Swirling Mist, as Krim said, is a way to like save your team in a blue deck. But what I'm excited about is really 2 things. So one is it also hits artifacts, which is kind of cute. A lot of blink effects, especially in white. You can't blink artifacts, you only blink creatures. So that's a cool upside. The other thing is it can target your opponent's stuff, which opens up all kinds of shenanigans where you want to Alpha Strike your opponent. You can blink out their blockers, or if you need to reset some effect that's on the battlefield that has a bunch of counters on it, blinking it gets rid of all the counters on it. So there's just a lot of interesting synergies in like tricks with this card. And to me, it looks pretty efficient. Like, I know it's not efficient if you're just trying to blink a single thing, but when you consider that like Ghostly Flicker is 3 mana to blink 2 things, and that's one of the best blink spells, this is 3 mana to blink 2 things. So I feel like this card actually is like relatively fairly costed, and it's just incredibly flexible. But Phil, what do you think about this one? You like the value? Is this a Phil card?
Yeah, I'm still torn. Like, it's gotta be good. But then Richard made a pretty good point I think it was on the podcast, right? Or was it in the Discord? But
I think it was the
you
podcast.
kind of
the
can
podcast,
save
yeah.
yourself from a wrath there. Like, you're not gonna keep up 7 mana. And even then, it's just 6 things. I really like if you get a catch a Voltron player without protection, and then you reset all the equipment or throw off all the auras or counters.
Yeah.
The name and artwork for the Omen Path version is pretty cool. It's spectral restitching, and it looks cool. Sorry, I love the Omen Path. I wish they made this like, give me the whatever. But I want to like this card. I hope I try it and not forget about it. But it seems like I think we might just be too tricksy about it, and it's just very good if you play Blink. It's just ephemerate with extra.
I
Although
think that's the
Ephemerate is super
floor, right?
efficient.
Like, worst case, it's got to be good in blink decks. Best case, maybe it's even better than that, and you play it as like kind of a utility spell for saving your board and like
I think
disrupting
if
your
you-
opponent.
If you want to have this, you play the March and keep it at this, and then in Blink deck you play this as the second March. That seems reasonable.
Yeah, it's
And then
definitely
Blink
worse.
decks also have other mass Blink. But
Yeah,
I like the
definitely way worse
flexibility.
at saving your team than March, but it is nice to get to reuse ETBs, which March doesn't end up doing. So it's gonna be interesting. Anyway, Phil, what do you got for us? Back to you.
Okay, so since I'm gonna buy one card from this set, and that is Urban Retreat. It's a land that enters tapped. It taps for green, white, or blue. And for 2 mana, return a tapped creature you control to its owner's hand. Put this card from your hand onto the battlefield. Sadly, only as a sorcery. This is just too good. I wish there was a version that doesn't have the Spider-Man suit on it, but I don't mind it too much in the land base. And it's the same with the web slinger mechanic. I love the return tapped creatures to hand. I wish I could do it at instant speed. There's one card that does it, but this also counters something. But I love the idea of returning something while attacking or to protect something from a wrath. And also just re-trigger ETBs while ramping. This is just too good. It's gonna go into my Brewing Chef deck, and I don't know. I don't even know what I copy with this. Maybe even if I return a Fairy Artisan with this, the token stays forever. That's all the value I need. It's also, what are the costs here? It's a tapped tri-land.
Yeah.
It's just a very interesting card. This one might make an exception. I will play this.
The land designs from the 2 rare land designs.
Oh, the other one
I
is interesting
really,
as well,
really
yeah.
like. The Mayhem land and this land are a couple of my favorite cards from the set. And I think even outside of being able to reuse your stuff, it's also just kind of ramp, right? Like if you can pick up a creature, I'm imagining imagine playing a Wood Elves or something and like ramping with it and then attacking with it and picking it back up and replaying, and you just end up, or Mana Dorks work really well with it, but then you got to pick up the Mana Dork and replay it, but still, like, I think that's fine. So I think the only thing I dislike about this card, and this isn't even a dislike, it's just like not going to go into as many decks as it could just because it's 3 colors. Like if you could play this in mono green or like Selesnya, I think it would show up in a ton of different decks. But I think still I would play this in, I think, any creature heavy Bant deck.
Yeah,
like I think it's going to be
so
worth
too.
playing.
It's kind of nice. I like it with like Mana Dorks, right? So like like the Mana Dorks are already done their job. You know what I mean? And so being able to bounce them back, I kind of like that. There's obviously the ETBs that Phil and y'all were talking about, but like I think these lands, this and Oscorp, are super cool to me. So
I think both of them will always feel super clever. That's kind of like I like cards that feel
lands
like,
that make
I
you
did
feel
a
smart.
cool thing now. Just like warp and then flicker something. And this is like, ooh, look, I tapped this and then I got it back and then I replay it and I trigger something. It's like so tinkery. I really like this card design here. I kind of hoped for a whole cycle here, but
I would not be surprised if it is a full cycle, but we get the rest of them in future Marvel sets. So I think it might be a cycle that's like split up, like the Soulstone and Friends. But yeah, the lands are super sweet. Well, my next pick, we'll just do the Soulstone. We gotta talk about this. We did a whole podcast on it. I'll just bite the bullet. I'll do the Soulstone. The Soulstone, we did the whole Mana Rock podcast, so go back and listen to that. So we won't probably go super in depth on this, but it's a 2-mana Infinity Stone legendary artifact Mana Rock. It's indestructible. It taps for black. You can pay 7 mana, tap it, exile a creature you control to harness it. And once you harness the Infinity, at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to reanimate a creature from a graveyard to the battlefield. As I mentioned before, we did a whole podcast about Mana Rocks and the Soulstone when this was first spoiled, and I think our conclusion was pretty much the card's kind of insane. Like, it's a 2-mana Mana Rock, and you get all this upside out of it. Like, it goes in pretty much any black deck. You can play it in multicolor decks as well. Obviously, if you're like a Reanimator deck, it gets even better, but that's not necessary. The only problem with the card is it is currently incredibly expensive. It's currently, I think, $140 for the cheapest version, and I was just looking today, the like rarest version's $20K at the moment for like the gold looking one.
Who has that? No, who opened that? There's no way someone opened that, right? How is it $20K?
No, that's the prices that are being offered for it. Like people are. I don't think people have seen it yet, but yeah, so it's already incredibly expensive. But anyway, Soulstone, anything to add to it?
Yeah, I think it's really cool that the base version is done by Vulcan Baga. So if you notice, it's in the layout and the form as every other Mox they've done. So Mox Opal, Chrome Mox, Mox Diamond, and that's why the stone is in that exact position. Go ahead.
I was going to say, there's been a couple of cool art callbacks in the set, too, because they had the unmasked one, too, where it's like Spider-Man taking off the mask and this RK post that actually did like unmask art, and it's like the same image, basically. So I really like those tie-ins to the history of the game a little bit.
Yeah, I really appreciate that's like a beautiful blend of like, like Magic and Marvel, right? Like and that is it's just really cool to get deep cuts from like, deep little nods like that and flavor from like, oh, this is like a Mox, so we're going to make it in the Mox art. I thought that was really nice.
Let me ask you a serious question, Phil. So the card's good. We all know the card is good. Is it $140 good? Let's say you got to build a black decking commander. Is it worth investing $140 of your deck budget into getting a copy of this, or do you just play a Mind Stone and keep $140 in your pocket?
I guess the question is, it's so good. I don't know. The white one will be very, very good because you don't blow it up yourself. Like mono black doesn't really blow up artifacts. Exile a creature you control, harness the source at the beginning. I mean, it's so good. I don't think any piece of cardboard is worth this much money, but it is just absurd how much they power creep this. Yeah,
It is.
I don't
really good.
like it, but it's on my list as well. Obviously, it's just ridiculous.
It would have been on
is.
my list, but I saw that y'all already had it.
Yeah.
Everyone's
I
on.
don't need to put it on there.
Well, I don't know what else we can really say about the Soul Stone. It's super strong, but also super expensive, and it's probably going to remain at least somewhat expensive, I would imagine. But let's keep moving on. Krim, back to the top of the order. What do you got for us?
All right. So on the next card, I think I'm gonna go with a villain that I've enjoyed. I read him in the comics. He ran this like soup kitchen and helped the community out, but at night he was secretly a villain. And that's Mr. Negative. So Mr. Negative is a 5 Orzhov, Vigilant, Lifelink, and Dark Force inversion. When Mr. Negative enters, you may exchange life totals with target opponent. If you lost life this way, draw that many cards. I mean, I have this built in paper. I know what I'm gonna do. I think we all the first thing we all thought about is Tree of Perdition, right? Like we're gonna Tree of Perdition, and we're gonna try to, that's gonna be an auto include into this deck. There's so many fun things you could do with this deck as well, right? You heal yourself, and then just swap with somebody else, and then just draw like 20 cards. This is an enters the battlefield ability, so that's really nice to reanimate, because usually these things are like, you got to cast it, you got to do all these things, and then this is just on enters. So I think this as a card, assuming you don't have a Screaming Nemesis emblem, is a really fun card.
God.
I feel like this is maybe the coolest commander in the set for me. Like, out of all the legends in the set, and there are a lot of legends and a bunch of really cool ones, but this one really just caught my eye for some reason. Like, the ability is unique. It seems really powerful. It draws tons of cards, which of course I'm gonna love. And plus, it's kind of like an Orzhov Blink deck, I think, is how I would probably go about building it with the ephemerids and stuff. Because once you start blinking its ability, it gets so out of hand so quickly, where you can essentially like draw a huge amount of cards and not lose any life if you play this and immediately blink it, which is just so incredibly strong. So I actually think it's a really fun commander, and I would consider playing in the 99 of like reanimator decks or life swap decks too, because I think it's just a really cool, powerful effect. But where are you at on this one, Phil?
I just noticed that you can, if you blink it, you reset, you get your life back. So I like the idea that it's weirdly not that scary, because people don't expect oh no, they're gonna go to 1 and then switch. But especially if it's Seth, I just assume you have 70 life more, and I just get all this life. The blink thing is kind of interesting. I also put the card in Photoshop. Maybe, sorry, Morgan, for the extra work, but if you invert this card, it's interesting how different he looks than inverted. Like his face looks like a human face.
Oh,
really? It's always interesting.
So it's actually kind of like a
stuff
negative?
It is a full negative. It's like it's a whole guy there.
The comic panels for this
is that how he looks in the comic
so cool.
too?
Yeah.
Oh, I assume the comic looks super. How does it work in the comics? Like, does he turn negative overnight?
Actually,
at night, and then he's scary.
It's just like he just yells negative powers. Okay, no. He does. He does just kind of turn into it.
Negative Nancy. Oh, I wish the Omen Path version would be called Negative Nancy.
how did he get this power? Did he fell into an undeveloped roll of film or something? Like how did he become Mr.
Press
Negative?
Control I in real life. Photoshop jokes.
I'm gonna look up the lore on Mr. Negative.
Oh,
I don't know
man.
how you end up with that superpower, but the card itself is definitely one of the coolest ones in the whole set.
I mean,
Uh,
it's a long thing that I feel like I would have to explain a lot. All
all right,
So,
I'll
but
Google it. I'll Google it.
yeah.
It's probably too much for the podcast. I'll Google it sometime. Let's
But-
keep moving. Oh, you got more on Mr. Negative? Go ahead, Grim.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, Phil talked about that, and I think I mentioned it on the regular podcast, but somebody replied to me, like, with, like, if you kind of flip the border around on this card, it would have been really cool if they showed me a version of it where it was white bordered, and it's like,
you said this on the podcast. Yeah, I
Yeah,
would accept
yeah.
this. That's
it would have been kind of cool if Mr. Negative was the only white bordered card in the set.
It would have been so cool.
Yep.
I wonder how big of a hassle that would be during the printing process. I wonder if that's why they didn't do it. That might be the sticking point, but it would look so cool if that was like the only white border card. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Phil, what's good from the Spider-Man set for us? What do you got?
all right. Another card that almost made it to my decks, but I want the effect on a 3-drop. It is a Lizard Connor's Curse, or otherwise King of the Cold Blood Curse. Oh, this looks so cute though. Whatever, we can't have this. So we get Connor's Curse. It is 4 mana, 5/5 trample. That's what I don't like because we're playing Commander and I'm not too interested in an overstated creature. It is pretty cool that it beats its own lizard because when it enters, up to one other target creature loses all abilities and becomes a green lizard creature with base power and toughness 4/4. So this is like Canvas transformation. Well, it beats it. Yeah, well, yeah, okay. Comments.
What?
Phrasing.
What?
Phrasing, Phil, phrasing.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just acknowledging that Connor's Curse is a cool card.
That's a great card.
I love Lizard.
It wins against the 4/4 lizard it creates.
It
But
does,
it turns
yes.
something into a 4/4 without an ability, so insane commander hate on a creature, which I would really love for my Lowness deck. Like I play funnily enough, I play Oko in my Lowness deck to beat Elishnorn, and this one wouldn't do anything against Elishnorn, which okay, but I like the effect on a creature, like as an ETB, you totally wreck an opponent's commander. It still deals 4 commander damage, so the 4/4 is way better than the 3/3. I don't know how much better, but 4/4s are like legitimate creatures. Then it's a 5/5 trample for 4. Why can't it be a 3 mana 1/1 with I don't know, Forest Walk or something?
Yeah. I keep going back and forth on this card. On one hand, it seems like really good removal to me, right? Like it's got a fine body, not that I care too much about it. It gets rid of commanders forever. On the other hand, we have the 3 mana, what's the Oko enchantment, the elk something and you draw a card. I can't think of the name at the moment.
Kenrith's
Kenrith's
Transformation.
Transformation. Yeah. That's 2
And we got
mana.
Oko
Beast
itself.
Within's 3 mana. You got Oko that's 3 mana. So my only question is 4 mana too much for the effect? I still think in the short term, I'm going to try jamming this in a lot of my green decks is just like, because green, unless you want to play fight spells, doesn't have that much creature removal, and it definitely doesn't have that many permanent ways to remove commanders like some other colors do. So I think I'm going to try jamming this in a lot of my green decks in the short term. Whether or not it actually sticks, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's just like too expensive for what you do. But where are you at on this one, Krim? Like, how good do you think this is in Commander?
I think it's really good for mono green, right? I mean, you get, again, redundancy isn't a bad thing in a singleton format, right? So I would like to have more of it. And on top of that, it being a creature is the difference between the two other cards that were mentioned, right?
Yeah, and being a creature is relevant in green. Green has stuff that triggers like card drawing wise based on creatures entering, like the Great Henge, and it's even like kind of big. Like you wouldn't be super happy if you wish card expertise for 5, but it's also not the end of the world. Like drawing 5 cards is still like fine, right? It's not as good as
5
8 or
cards, not a
something, but
lot?
it's still like
Yeah.
But drawing 5 is still pretty reasonable. So maybe being a creature in the context of green, I want to draw 7 or 8 cards, Crims.
Okay,
All
right.
But 5
all
is
right.
okay. But in the context of what green does in Commander, maybe it's even a little better than I was giving it credit for.
can play
we
it as a
don't
commander,
swing
play
into
mono
some.
green stacks.
Oh, yes. Oh, that actually sounds kind of
Can
funny.
you make mono green blink?
Oh, maybe?
I-
Maybe.
So I've been playing not really for content, but I kind of like playing regular mid-range decks from time to time, and I like in Timeless to play Orko and Bowmasters, and it's a sweet synergy where you create the Orc army, but then turn it into an Elk, so it's a 4/4, and it's not an army again, but it's like if you have an army that's just a 0/0 with counters, you get a lot of value from just turning this into a 4/4 just to buff it up.
It's kind of funny. I thought of that in the context of standard, like, oh, you can play this and I can get rid of your thing's abilities, or I can make my Llanowar Elf into a 4/4. That's kind of cool. I hadn't really thought about it much in the context of Commander, though, but I guess that's an upside where, like, those mana dorks that
Depends, I
kind of
don't know.
lose their value eventually, being able to turn one into a 4/4 and beat down, like, maybe that's enough of an upside.
Losing
We don't
the
swing
ability
into
sucks for this.
Richard's like Sky Scanner. Okay, we don't even swing into a 1.
Yeah, true.
We're
that is
definitely not swinging into a 4/4, right? And especially if it's like you play Lizard to then pump your own mana dork and have Lizard, so you have 9 power on board. So I think
Oh yeah, I wonder if this is
Really
just good in
powerful.
standard. If you curve a Llanowar into this,
That's
and
a
then-
lot of power.
yeah.
A lot of power and toughness. I wonder, too, if this is probably, I can't think of an example of this, but it'd be cool if you could use it to get rid of a negative ability on one of your cards. Like, you play something that has, like, I don't know, powerful enters, but then a negative static ability, and you use this to get rid of it. But I don't know what you can actually do that in practice with green. But maybe there's a way that getting rid of the abilities could be an upside, too. Anyway, let's keep moving on. For my next pick, I got a card that I think is going to be pretty good, and that is Morlun. Morlun, Devourer of Spiders, who I imagine is probably not one of the good guys if he's devouring the spiders. It's a double black and X, 2/1 legendary vampire villain. Oh, that's a villain, okay. Legendary vampire villain with lifelink. It enters with X +1/+1 counters on it, and when it enters, it deals X damage to target opponent. So Morlun, it's kind of like Maga, Trader of Mortals, way back in Kamigawa 20 years ago, except Maga was 3 mana, and it didn't have lifelink, and it started as a 0/0, I believe. This is just like Maga, but way, way better than Maga ever wanted to be, and I really like this in a couple of situations. So one is in Mono Black, and as I mentioned earlier, Mono Black, because of coffers, is really good at making a lot of mana. So I think in the late game, it's kind of realistic that with stuff like coffers, maybe Nykthos, maybe some of the Nirkana Revenant Cryptgas style mana doublers, that this could maybe just take someone out of the game. We see a lot of black decks that finish the game with like a big Torment of Hailfire or something like that. And this can kind of only hits one person, but still you can kind of take one person out of the game. It also lines up really well with just what black likes to do, which is draining people. Maybe you can't quite lethal someone with Morlun, but when you add in Grey Merchant of Asphodel draining people and Exsanguinate draining people and so forth, this actually just fits really well into that context. Plus you can play it in vampire decks, so you get a little extra like tribal synergy out of it, where it seems good in vampires too. So I actually think this might be not as good as Grey Merchant, but like Grey Merchant at home in mono black decks in Commander. And I think that might still be good enough for me to put it in a lot of my mono black decks. But what do you guys think of Morlun?
I did not connect the dots with the lifelink there.
Yeah.
It's on me. That is interesting.
I love that. I love that part. That lifelink part, I think, is just gonna casually slip by, like it already has, and I think it's gonna be a big body with a giant draining a card. I like it, right? Like Seth had mentioned, this is what Mono Black wants to do, and on top of that, it's just attached to a very cool looking little vampire guy, right? So, I think this is just a simple design that is just very sweet.
I think the deck that I think it's best in out of the vampire decks is probably Veto, because in Veto you can kind of kill 2 people with it, since you get one person with the damage and another from gaining the life from the damage, so you can take out 2 people instead of 1. But I think it's good in other decks as well. But the Veto synergy in specific, I think the card is really good there, and they're both
I never
vampires.
thought about putting Veto in the command zone. That is so scary.
Yes,
He's also
yeah.
cheap.
Yeesh.
He is so cheap. He's like 3 mana.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you can do some frightening
Oh my
things.
god.
All right, let's give it another round. Krim, let's go back to the top of the order. One more time through Spider-Man. What do you got?
Okay. So, okay, so there's a ton of theft stuff I like, but also I feel like since Tomer isn't here, and I think Tomer liked this card, maybe I'm misremembering that, but Rent is Due, right? I also like this card. I think
Tomer
we all
didn't
are.
like it.
Yeah, right. Okay, so Tomer did like it. I like the card, but yeah, it's 1 mana. It's 1 white specifically. An enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, you may tap 2 untapped creatures and or treasures you control. If you do, draw a card. Otherwise, sacrifice this enchantment. This is just sweet, right? This is a very efficient, cheap engine. Like, I know that you can't just turn 1 play this, because obviously, but I think that, to be able to just play this and for such a low cost, because it also triggers at your end step, by the way, not your next upkeep or anything like that, you can immediately get that value. And it's only for 1 mana. So it's a good, just clean, simple card advantage engine.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
I'm a big
I can.
Phyrexian. Oh, go ahead, Phil. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know. I actually, it reads so good, but I don't know. It's not the first time we fall for a white enchantment and say, "Oh, this is every turn."
I know. Whenever there's a white
Just had a
enchantment that makes
podcast about
every turn and makes treasures, I'm skeptical now. Smothering Tithe is good, but every other time there's a treasure white enchantment, it just falls apart. I think this one is actually good, though. I think it's actually good. So I'm a big Phyrexian Arena believer. So if you were to tell me there's a 1-mana enchantment that draws me an extra card each turn, I already think that's going to be a good card. So yes, you do have to jump through a little bit of a hoop, which is have 2 creatures or treasures that you want to tap, but I don't actually think that's going to be that difficult. When you think about white decks in Commander, a lot of them play a lot of catch-up ramp creatures and these dorky, cheap creatures to generate value, helpful healers and spirited companions. Think of a richer deck. I feel like those creatures are going to be really easy to tap to draw a card on your end step. Plus, white is pretty good at making treasures with Smothering Tithe, some of those cards that we memed on last week, like Monologue Tax, Smuggler's Share, but still, there's a lot of ways to make treasures, and if all you need is 2 treasures sitting out, and you can keep this going forever. So yes, there are going to be times when you can't play it. Yes, there's going to be times where you play it and your board gets harassed and you have to sacrifice it. But it's 1 mana. If you draw 2 or 3 cards with this, you built yourself an Ancestral Recall split up over a few turns. You don't got to be too greedy. It's not like this has to draw you 10 cards for 1 mana to be good. If it draws you 3 cards, it's already one of the best cards that's ever been made. So I actually am really high on this card. I don't think it goes in every deck, but in the decks it's good, it's going to be really good.
This shows you where Seth lies in the color pie. Because the green card, it only drew me 5 cards.
Yeah.
The white card, it drew
Yeah.
me 3 cards. This is
3.
crazy.
Oh,
right?
that is awesome. Yeah.
This is a little bit of a commentary on where green is, but you know what I mean?
That is true, though.
So what really gives me hope is it is on the end step, so you can't get blown out. Play it and then next you untap without creatures and then that's it.
Right.
What also gives me hope about this is that I really like how the station lands play from EOE.
Oh,
I play them in a lot of decks, and I regularly find myself just every creature I play, I just tap as long as I have 1 or 2 blockers just to disincentivize value beats in my face. I'll try it. I don't know if I put it in any of my paper decks yet, but I will try it on Clash. You gotta play creatures. I don't know, white treasures. You usually get them with the opponents doing stuff or something, so I don't know if you can reliably get treasures. Maybe
I've been finding
It's a
myself
little
playing
worse
Fountain
or
Port
something.
in every
Ooh.
deck I play. And Fountain
Oh,
Port
no,
itself
no.
alone does... Obviously, this is a whole system you've kind of just set
Yeah,
up.
this is it.
But, I think because of the low investment on mana for Rent is Due, I think it's just it's so nice. And it's not that hard for you to get a bunch of little, poopers, right? Just, little 1/1s or something like that. So, no, I just feel
As
like
long
this
as you
is...
don't open yourself up for people swinging in and say, "Oh, I just want to draw this card,"
I just got
I
to
spec
trip my
somebody.
Dowsing Dagger, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think it's gonna be worth testing at least. I will say it might be a little
Mhm.
worse in the Clash meta because we have Smothering Tithe banned, but I think that's the best way treasure
Yeah,
maker,
if you have
right? So if you're
treasures,
someone
it's
who's
very good.
playing
Yeah.
Smothering Tithe, then I think it gets even better there.
Or
All
like
right,
if you have excess treasures, kind of sucks if you
yeah.
say, I pay potential 2 mana kinda every turn for this. Although this, I don't just, it's so hard to evaluate this card. It feels good, but
That is, yeah.
am not gonna eat it in like a month, and we say, oh, this is trash.
It is
I don't know.
that is possible. Like, it's one of those cards that's gonna be hard to evaluate without playing with. I feel
Mhm.
like the first game or two I play with it, I'm either gonna feel like, okay, this actually feels really good, or oh my god, this feels way worse than I thought. And I'm not gonna know until I try it. So
Mhm.
anyway, let's go back around to you, Phil. What do you got for your final Spider-Man pick?
Okay, one card that it's interesting. I'm gonna play it in our Spider-Man episode because I'm gonna play Anti-Venom, and we got a card that's made for the deck. It is with great power. It's 4 mana, it's an aura. It's enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. And then all damage that would be dealt to you is dealt to enchanted creature instead. Crazy with anti-venom or indestructible stuff or other stuff that
Pariah,
doesn't really get
like
damaged. The wild
things like that.
Phyrexian Obliterator is something.
Vindicator.
But yeah, the not the oh my god. the the cool part is that the equipped creature gets enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each aura and equipment. That is an insane buff in an aura or equipment deck. We know it
Yeah.
from like how good's what what's armor? The armor in standard. The
Oh,
+1/+1
ethereal
for
armor?
each aura.
Or all
Yeah,
that glitters,
Oh,
ethereal armor,
all
yeah.
that glitters, all these things. It's just
Yeah.
+1/+1, and it's already crazy. And this is just gonna one hit people like crazy, and that kind of means that they got a one hit this because everything else will just get wiped end of turn, like when damage resets. So I think if you put this on a creature that you can protect, and then have, I guess, all that glitters and the other one count all. Yeah, usually in Voltron, all the things are on one thing. But I really like the you gotta deal 12 damage to me or you deal no damage to me. And then, even then, it's kind of like what's the throne of the Emperor or something um from Warhammer. It's a mana rock that only taps for 3 mana if you sacrifice a creature, and then
Oh,
otherwise
right.
it's like when you lose the game, instead you go to 1. And this is
yeah.
kind of the same thing. Like you can't finish me in one hit. It's like you gotta get through this first, and I like a little pillow forting. Yeah, we'll see how it plays. It is certainly in my anti-venom deck. Yeah, it's crazy with this.
I love this card because I love pry effects. There's nothing I like more than just jamming a pry on a stuffy doll. Like, it's just
No,
such a fun
definitely.
synergy. And this is like one of the, I think, the best pariah now because not only are you getting the pry effect, which is 1 more mana, but you're also probably getting a pretty big buff. And I think that makes the card kind of flexible. Like, you can play it like in all that glitters in like a more aggro-y, creature-y, boggle style deck or whatever, where you're using this primarily to get through damage. And it's going to maybe save you. Like, if you put this on a relatively big Voltron creature, like Phil was saying, you're going to have to deal 10, 12 damage to actually get through the with great power and eventually deal damage to me. So you can go that direction, or you can go full on the pillow fort it, put it on the stuffy doll or the Ketramos or whatever, some indestructible, hexproof, anti-venom style creature, and just make it really hard for anyone to kill you. So I think this card is actually super fun. I really like this one.
I also I do have a question about it though, because with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Peter uses that as a way to not kill all of his enemies.
Oh,
Whereas this, it's a way to become to
True.
help the weaker, right, people with your great strength and all the powers and abilities you have. So does this mean that Are you gonna actually like eliminate a player with this? Because can you eliminate a player with this?
Hey, I mean, look at
I
Gwen
don't know,
Stacy,
probably.
Graham. Look at Gwen
No,
Stacy.
okay,
I'm just
that's not
saying.
Peter Parker doing that. That's the Green Goblin.
Oh, whoa. I mean, you could eliminate a player with it. I mean, it's going to be hard to, it would specifically have to be like on the stuffy doll for that part to kill someone. Oh, I guess you eliminate someone if you just throw down a big like
Yeah,
gingerbread
you
or
just
something.
hit 'em, right?
Yeah,
Like,
just
what if you
smack
just
him with it.
hit somebody. Which is where
Yeah.
then I'm like, okay, if you put this on your anti-venom, that means, Phil, you actively cannot kill whoever's in last place. You have to go for the person in like first place.
The
I'm
spirit
just
of
saying, that's an
Spider-Man.
unwritten flavor rule. Okay, we're just going with that.
I don't know. I don't know anything about Spider-Man.
Okay, fair,
Anti-Venom,
perfect.
that's such a cheesy name. I'm sorry. Everybody's gonna get it.
Hey, comics have had some banger names like Paste Pot Pete. Okay, so like,
All right. We have one more card, and we can't do a Spider-Man cast without wrapping things up with one of our many Spider-Man, and the one that I'm actually think is going to have the most overall impact on Commander, not as a cool commander like Cosmic Spider-Man or whatever, but just as a really good 99 card that's going to show up in a lot of decks, is Spectacular Spider-Man. So Spectacular Spider-Man, it's 2 mana for a 3/2. It's a white card. It's a legendary human spider hero. It has flash. You can pay 1 to give it flying until end of turn, or you can pay 1 and sacrifice it to give creatures you control hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So I know we talk a lot about protection spells in Commander, and white has Teferi's protection, it has Flare of Fortitude, it has good options, right? Clever Concealment. I actually think this Spectacular Spider-Man is very close to being in the same tier as those cards. Maybe not the T-Pro tier, that card's kind of in its own tier, but I actually think that
Yeah.
Spectacular Spider-Man is actually a very, very good protection spell, even though it might read a little weaker. Because I know someone's going to say, well, Farewell, this doesn't save you from a Farewell, right? If you phased out, you'd be saved from Farewell. And that is true, but Hexproof and Indestructible is still a very strong way to protect your board. And in the context of white in Commander, being a 3/2 flash body is huge. It wears equipment, it triggers your creatures entering draw me card type stuff. So I actually think this Spectacular Spider-Man, my gut is it's like a white staple in creature decks. Like if you're just playing a bunch of creatures and you need another way to protect your board, I think this does almost exactly what you want to do in a white creature deck in Commander. But I'm curious what you guys think. Am I overrating it? Is this like a staple level card that you can jam almost T-Pro style in any white creature deck?
It's already in my humans deck, so I'm just like, yeah. As soon as I saw that, lock that in. I'm gonna go to my deck,
Oh,
and we're
right.
just gonna put that in there.
You get
Is
the
he still
human
human?
synergy too. Yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
And then on top of
I mean-
that, like you're right. It's a body. It's a flash 3/2 body that's only 2 mana and can sit there for the rest of the game, right? Until kind of like when I play humans, I already have Jarina, the 2 mana one from Aftermath that can, you sack it and all your humans get indestructible, yada yada yada, right? This is just more of that, and also is just a flash body, which is way better than just a trick that people can see. Now,
Oh,
maybe
right.
you sit there and it sits there, and the whole time the whole table can see it, but that doesn't stop it in some ways because you still can get hexproof. You still can have have all of that to protect your board. They need to exile, so you force the exile out of your opponent's hands.
If this card did not have flash, it would be unplayable. Like that's how big the flash is so huge on this. Because think about how Teferi's protection works, where someone goes to cast a Wrath, there's always this everyone holds their breath moment to see if the arch enemy who's ahead has a T-Pro to phase out their board, because if they do, then they're just gonna win the game, right? If your effect is just sitting on the battlefield, that's not gonna happen. No one's gonna go for that line and try to Wrath if they know that you have this protection spell on the battlefield. So because this has flash, you kind of can do the same thing, right? You get those blows. We see it with heroic protection in green decks, where someone goes to Wrath and then you flash in cast a heroic intervention at instant speed. Your board gets saved. Everyone else loses their creatures. You win the game. So Spectacular Spider-Man, it can do that exact same thing. But what do you think, Phil? You haven't really weighed in on this one. How good do you think this is at protecting your board?
Don't like that you have to pay mana, but I think then it's too expensive, too good. Because the flash is just a game changer. I already like Selfless Spirit.
No, the flash
Like,
is
it
from
feels-
DC, Phil. The flash is from DC.
Oh.
I thought you weren't a superhero guy. Phil, what happened?
I already like just playing Selfless Spirit and say, I did everything I can. If the Wrath is an exile, okay. With this, it's even better because of the flash. So yeah, it seems stapley. It's crazy how push this is for 1v1. Like 2 mana, 3/2 haste, flash, upside. And then
And-
very relevant upside from the second one. I guess the first one is also really very relevant.
I don't know if we should take this into consideration or not, but I think Wizards also, I assume they think it's good because this was the card they did all the different costume changes on, and there's all the variants, which are like some of the most expensive cards you can open. And usually I think Wizards try just to do that with cards that people they think are actually going to play. So I think it almost gets like a vote of confidence from Wizards too, just because of how many versions of it they printed in the set.
As someone who's lost to many traveling chocobos. Yeah,
Yep.
probably, right? Yeah, probably. I am very curious though. Okay, so we know about the Flash. We love, okay, again, not the DC character. We love the Flash effect and whatnot on Spectacular Spider-Man. How often do you think you will play this card as just a 2-drop that's going to sit on the board? Like, does it lose its value to you if it's a known combat trick? Because like, I like that this can attack, this can beat down, this can do all of that, but then that loses the element of surprise. So
I think it really depends on the hand or situation, right? Like, it really depends. If I have a hand that needs to like get in a hit with an equipment or draw a card by triggering something, I think it's perfectly fine to run this out. But I also think part of the power of the card is it's also very good off the top in the late game when another 2-drop might not be, because then you can hold on to it and play it like a heroic intervention. You'll have enough mana that you can just flash it in, pay the 1, sacrifice it. So I think it really just depends on like the deck I'm playing, and even more than that, what my hand looks like. Am I trying to flip equipment? Am I setting up for like a long game to protect my board? And I think that's part of the power of the card is I think it's fine both ways, really. Like, I think it's good enough both ways.
I mean, I like
Anyway.
Selfless Spirit, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Selfless Spirit is also good. And that one does have to sit on the board, right? That doesn't have flash,
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah.
no, it does not.
Anyway, those are our top Spider-Man cards for Commander. You've heard our list. Let us know what you think. What cards from the set are you most hyped about for Commander? What do you think is going to be good? Let us know in the comments. And we'll be back next week to talk even more Commander. So until then, have a great week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.